kind of recently I revisited the wall. So you guys know I go back and forth between how I feel about the wall in this game. I went from, oh, it's cool, and then, oh, it's not cool, and then, oh, I guess it's okay. Right now I'm like, I guess it's okay. If you're playing a character that's not like straightforward, like you're playing like a Soul Ram Giovanna, you're like, all right, I'm gonna break the wall, just do mad damage, blah blah blah. But if you play like a Jacko or Milia or Zato, then you gotta think a little bit more about like what are you doing with the wall, how are you going to use it to like buff your character, buff your win condition. But the other thing that really got people tight when this game came out is actually the Gatling system. To the point that people, what's that thing called? It's called Strive Plus. The name is kind of like, I don't think they did this on purpose, but the name is a little bit backhanded. They call it Strive Plus, implying that they're making the game better, right? And one of the things they added, of course, is stuff that longtime Guilty Gear players wanted because they didn't want to change a while ago. So last year, actually, when I talked about it before, I thought the Gatling change was really weird too. So if you don't know, everyone in this game has the same Gatlings overall. And there's a bunch of repeating rules, like punches and kicks don't go into slashes directly or heavy slashes. They go into like command normals if you have them, like a 6H or a 6P or a 6S. This one kind of varies by character. Then your slash buttons all go into each other and heavy slash. So this is a very, very, very shortened version of how the Gatlings work. Lord Chad, you have to put up the chart, by the way. Please and thank you. Anyway, but in Exerd, people had really different Gatlings, and I should go into Exerd so I can show you why it matters and what was interesting about the old way and what was tough about the old way. So side note, BlazBlue and old Guilty Gear, like XX and Exerd, the characters have unique Gatlings, but Persona, Dragon Ball, and, because people actually don't mention it with Dragon Ball, but Persona, Dragon Ball, and Strive characters have all the same Gatlings. With like some small exceptions. Usually the exceptions are around command normals. So here we have Exerd, lovely Exerd, shouts to Exerd. So everyone in this game has different Gatlings, and the way you chain actually works differently. So long story short, the delay cancels are tied to active frames. So the more active your move is, the more time you have to delay. The less active it is, the less you can delay. Like you can't delay like this, for example, where in Strive it's a very common delay point. You have to learn your Gatlings and then everyone else's Gatlings, because if you don't learn everyone else's Gatlings, then you're going to let the opponent get away with nonsense for sure. Like, one of the challenges of figuring out how to fight other characters is knowing what Gatlings they have and what you can do when you interact with them. So I like using Faust as an example because he has one really easy direct one that people don't really take advantage very much, and it's a 6P. So his 6P is actually like a Strive 6P in that it's only special cancelable. He can't do anything else. He can't do 6P into slash or heavy slash or dust, nothing. All he has is special cancel. Once you understand this, then you realize his options are very limited. He could just item throw. There it is. So he can pogo. There's not a lot of things he can do. He could do scalpel pull. Not a lot of options there. But you would have to know that Faust's Gatlings are not like Milia's Gatlings, who Milia has a Gatling option off her 6P. It's just 2H. She has a couple, actually. She has 6H, 2H. Like, she has a couple of Gatling options off her 6P. It makes the characters feel really different because they go about literally pressing buttons different ways. But there's a few challenges. The main one being that it's really hard to learn new characters because all the characters have different Gatlings, as I mentioned. And for planning against characters, since characters don't have the same things, you have to like go in depth into another character that's not yours and figure that out. There's also the case of Gatlings that don't get used very often as well. So here's an example of Milia. You basically never do this with Milia ever. It's there, but you basically don't do it very often. Characters have punch, kick, slash, heavy, slash, dust, you know, from weak to heavy. This is like a very, very classic style thing from classic fighting games, like even as far back as Vampire Savior, Marvel's Capcom, etc. The thing is, though, because of the known delays and how strong FD is and things like that, people really shorten their strings into basically something that's plus pull up or something special move. So an example would be this Gatling I use quite a bit. That's like a throw crush, and I'm plus on block, and I get to see how you defend. Like, are you FDing, are you IBing, all at the same time. Similarly to this, you have special cancel, right? You have no choice. If you don't do it, then as I said before, you can just punish. One of the principles I thought of Strive Gatlings is that they were cutting out a lot of the fat of the Exert Gatlings of a lot of stuff that people didn't like using, or probably the main ones that they wouldn't like using very much. Some people like the stuff being there even if you don't use it, which for me, I guess I understand, but I'm kind of like, what's the point? Another aspect was one I didn't really think about until more recently, because on stream I'm talking a lot about like, yeah, I've been learning all these characters, I've been exploring a lot of the cast, and one thing that's super good about the new gatlings, it's really fucking easy to learn new characters because everyone has the same gatlings. I don't have to learn new gatlings. It's something I didn't really think about in Persona days, but it's definitely something I thought about in Dragon Ball, because everyone has the same gatlings in Dragon Ball also. It helps a lot with conceptualizing how to build strings, because similarly to Dragon Ball, themes are repeated across the characters. So I'll show a couple examples. The strength of the delay cancelable kick. I mean, this thing is in Exert also, but the thing is, not every character has this. So Giovanna can't do this the way Milia and Chip can. You have this quite a bit across characters. Another one across characters is that either a character has a very plus on block close slash, so Giovanna has a +3 close slash, Nago has one, Soul has one, Mei has one, or you have this -2 close slash. Usually the characters with -2 close slash have some like silly shit, and I feel like that's why it's not plus. So for example, Milia, you have your instant overhead or low, or this jumping low that's really tricky, or she has the fastest air dash, so you can just put in air dash B plus. Where the characters who have the plus on block close slash, generally it's either like they're not mobile, or even if their pressure is good, like they have good frame data like Geo, they don't have any, like, for lack of a better word, super tricky, super bullshit type of thing. Another thing is, for the most part, you don't get good return off mashing lights. So in Exit, for example, let's say if you play a super privileged character like Alpha or Johnny, you can do like kick into full combos, into knockdown, into set play, into win condition. But in this game, you don't really get, honestly, you don't get that. You get, like, for example, Milia has 2k into win condition, 2k sweep, right? But me mashing on this does quite literally no damage. Like, generally, your return of mashing lights is low. If you choose to spend resource for it, still your return is pretty low compared to using slashes and heavy slashes. At the beginning of the game, I thought, man, it's kind of weird that they changed this system, because you have to be pretty conscious with how you press buttons. Honestly, over the long term, I kind of didn't give new players credit, I think. And I actually think it's kind of a more intuitive system than we thought. Even though it seems kind of weird at the beginning, I felt like it was pretty intuitive. You pretty much know the return you're gonna get off the thing you're using no matter what. If you're hitting slashes or heavy slashes, you're expecting to get bigger damage. If you're hitting punches and kicks, you're expecting to get less damage. The main downside of this system is that a lot of characters at a baseline, like when you start the character at least, feel really similar in pressure until you start exploring their other tools. But maybe that's okay, you know, like you're growing with the character, so you find ways to kind of expand on pressure. Because if you go for, if you're starting though, and you go from like having this type of thing B plus, and you go to Milia and it's not plus, like it's -2, and you have people challenging a lot, you don't really know what to do, that is kind of weird. But basically you can start every character, just kind of hop in, which I kind of like. It's kind of like the summary that I've got. The people who still don't like the system, I mean, like, I know it's a polarizing system, but in the end I think they did a pretty good job. Probably the laziest way they could have done it is just do it Dragon Ball style. Honestly, this game would be a lot different if it was like Dragon Ball style. A lot more violent, I would say, than it already is. How do you guys feel?